Hello, my name is Henry, and I'll be talking about net neutrality. Um, so net neutrality is, as you can see in the images right here, it's going to be an equalizer. So it treats everything as equal, or it also is large companies, they pay money to go through the fast lane, fast internet. Smaller companies have slow lane, slower internet. Uh, so net neutrality is basically a principle that internet service providers must treat all internet communications equally and not discriminate or charge differently based on users, content, website, platforms, applications, type of equipment, source addresses, etc. A good example of this is uh, if Netflix pays AT&T money to obtain faster internet for their users. So let's say I want to use Netflix, and because Netflix is paying AT&T and I have AT&T, AT&T will give me faster internet to use Netflix.com, and I can stream faster. This becomes a little bit unfair to smaller companies when they're starting off. So here is a question, or the first case that I created. Is it permissible for a company to limit internet access? And what I mean is it okay for a company to control the speed at which you stream or download files online through specific websites that they are against or for? AKA, are they against pro-abortion companies or those kind of stuff? Here's an example. It's kind of like the similar example I had before. If Comcast, a company, an internet service provider company, decides to enhance their infrastructure to make their internet speed twice as fast for better and more reliable internet, but it turns out that 50% of Comcast customers are using the internet for Netflix. So should Comcast slow down the streaming speed of movies on Netflix because Netflix did not pay or help pay for the new infrastructure? Would this be morally correct for Comcast to slow it down? So that goes back to the previous question: is it permissible for a company to limit internet access? And here we can see that Comcast is limiting the internet speed. And I did do a poll, a prediction poll. It's not a live audience, so it's just kind of assumption as to what is the people are going to be voting for. The first prediction poll: is it permissible for a company to limit internet access? I would say that the majority would say no. At least 85% would say no. 10% would go with undecided, just because they probably want to hear out the yes and no's, the pros and cons. And then I think the minority would be yes. We'll get more into this in the next few slides. The second case is it permissible for someone to control what you have access to? What does this mean? Is it okay for someone to tell you what you can watch or what you can do? Here's an example of what I mean. Bob and Mike are roommates. They both pay rent, but Bob pays for electricity and pays for the new TV. Is it okay for Bob, the one who purchased the electricity and the TV, to control how much TV Mike can watch, since Mike did not pay or help pay for the TV or electricity? So this goes to the question above. Is it permissible for someone to control what you have access to? So I again created another prediction poll. I don't know, this is not accurate at all, but this is what I think the majority would vote. I would say that majority would still vote no. It's not permissible. And I think a little more people will start leaning towards the yes, just because this is a person to person, not a person to company. I think people tend to be a little more lenient when it comes to person to company, just because it's the underdog. The undecided, I think, would still change or would still stay the same. But the reason why I kind of go off of yes and no, or more people leaning towards yes, is just based off how I see the class moving. I see that when it's more of like a small situation type of thing, people tend to be a little more lenient, more movable, more changeable. So these are the positions that I read online, pro and cons, or I guess what your the pro of limiting internet access. So the people who are with limiting internet access say that it's the company's right to control what they want, because they decided to build and invest millions of dollars into the infrastructure to provide the internet for you. So this is saying that the company paid lots of money so you can have internet. So they have the right to choose whether you get to see whether you get to see what they want you to see. They also say it's a free market. Most people say that if you don't like the policy or regulation of a company, then you as a consumer have the right to look for another company that fits your needs. This is true, and even in restaurants, when you're a consumer, you have the rights to, if you don't like the food, go somewhere else, try something else. They also say it reduces innovation because companies like Google, Netflix, and YouTube, which make millions, do not pay for building these infrastructures, these buildings, to make the internet faster. Instead, it's up to the internet service provider themselves to provide better buildings, better infrastructures. But the thing is, Netflix, Google, and YouTube rely on these infrastructures to provide services. So these infrastructures are usually built for, high broadband websites, and they require fast and reliable internet. So that's why they say that by limiting the internet access, you can have companies kind of like giving money to other companies in a sense for marketing. In addition to those who agree to limiting internet access, it says that it prevents people from watching illegal websites, especially in the dark web, just like child pornography or, like hitmen, hiring hitman type of thing. It also limits unwanted eyes peering into websites that are not age appropriate. For example, a kid gets a new phone, they can easily access porn, look at multiple videos without any problems. Lastly, those who agree with limiting internet access say that charging Netflix a broadband fee, they can make other websites like Facebook and Wikipedia free, because Facebook and Wikipedia require little to no broadband at all. And they would give websites with little to no broadband priority in a sense that it's free. More people have access to it. Even if you don't have an internet provider, even if you don't have AT&T, Verizon, they're thinking that maybe they can give people all across the US free internet for these no broadband websites. Now let's look at the ones who are against limiting the internet access. And I tend to lean more towards against limiting. I'm not for limiting internet access. So based off the research that I found, it says those who disagree to limiting internet access argue that it's an infringement to the First Amendment because of freedom of speech to read, listen, or watch whatever they want at any given time. I personally believe that too. I do agree that it's against your First Amendment. They also say by not limiting internet, it makes it more universal and an equalizer. Prevents bigger companies from taking over the smaller company when it comes to controlling what the customer sees, or limits the internet speed on a specific website. So it's basically the Netflix and Comcast example. So like I said, like a good example is the Netflix, a brand new streaming company, cannot compete over who gets a faster broadband speed through the internet service provider, aka AT&T, Verizon. Both companies would have to be treated equally by the internet service provider. So then they have an equal base of broadband and speed, so all the users would be treated equally as well. Another thing that people are against, or why they're against this, is the internet service provider has the option to charge, can have the option to charge internet companies a fee for a faster internet speed when users are using their website. Then in return, YouTube, Google, or Netflix could potentially start charging their users for free services, or start charging them more for already pre-existing services. That's one of the reasons why it's a big no-no for this, for that one. So my personal position for the first case, which was is it permissible for a company to limit internet access? I voted no, because I think that companies should not have control over what you can read, see, or hear. I also think that if you give a company too much power, they can retaliate and control the mass. My mentality to infringement is it pushes me to the First Amendment. It comes back to the First Amendment, freedom of speech, and that's like a big thing for me. And I also believe in like survival of the fittest, when it comes to businesses. If a business cannot grow or profit in an equal state as other companies, then they should not exist. It's part of capitalism. It's part of being in business. Internet service providers should also not discriminate or charge differently just because of the type of website or company you are. So I think it comes to free business, free marketing, capitalism to me, more of like the legal side, I guess. So in the second case, this is the example with the Mike and Bob with the TV. Is it permissible for someone to control what you have access to? For this one, I was a little confused about it, even though I did come up with it because I started thinking about it more. And I think they're morally equivalent, but have a different quality to them. The difference being that it's a person to a company in person. I personally think that it's, if a person does this to a person, it's looked down upon. It's bad behavior. It looks like if you weren't really taught any manners. But at the same time, I have to side with Bob, because if I were the one purchasing the TV, if I were the one purchasing the electricity, I would get to choose what I want to do with my own TV. I would get to choose who can watch on my TV. Since I'm paying for all these services, I'm paying for all these items and goods. So I'm kind of undecided here. I think it depends on the situation, but the quality is just, I think it's the quality, the overall quality. I'm still stuck about it. So yeah, this is the last slide. It's just the sources. I have 6 sources posted on there, including a YouTube video on the number 2, if you want to take a look at that. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.